For our final lesson, we'll learn how to conduct reporting in the Contracts Plus solution. In addition to those ad hoc reports you can run from your search results, we also have some standard reports that come with this solution. And specifically today, we're going to talk about the cycle time report, the obligations across contracts report, and the workload by manager report. To find the reports that are available, you would go to Contracts, Reports, and then see them listed here. There are several different reports you can generate, such as contracts that require attention, either review pending or expiring contracts, contract template and clause analysis, which examines the usage of your templates and clauses, and then the ones that we're going to talk about today include the workload by contract manager report, the obligations across contracts report, and the cycle time report, which is contract creation to execution. We're going to jump into Contracts Plus and take a look at these three reports today, though I do encourage you to examine the other reports in your free time when you get a chance. To find the reports, go to the Contracts icon, Reports, and you'll see them listed here. We're going to start with the Obligations Across Contracts report, and this is where we can see overdue or upcoming obligations. We also could add to that by including other statuses of our obligations, but for now we're going to go with overdue and upcoming because those might be the most pertinent to us. We can also filter down to say only my obligations, and we can also select more options to further filter down the results. In our case today, I have 3 obligations that are overdue. I can see a description and the name of the obligation here. I can see the status of that obligation, the stakeholders who are involved, the contract number and a link to go to that contract, as well as some information about the contract. And then from this report, I can mark the obligation as complete. So I could include notes and attachments the same way that I would mark it complete on the contract itself. And I could mark complete from here. And it's going to remove it from my list if I refresh. So now I only have 2. I also have some options here to do some actions in bulk. I could mark them complete or change owners and stakeholders. This is a report we're going to come back to and talk to in a future online class called Managing Obligations and Contract Requests. So we'll come back and explore this a little bit more later. Just know that you also can export this report, and this is just sort of a general overview of what this report can do. Next, let's take a look at the cycle time report. We're going to go to Reports, Cycle time report, and this is how long it takes a contract to move from creation to execution. So here we have some options for our contracts. We're going to take a look at the cycle time report for contracts in our organization that are executed or have been executed in the previous fiscal year. I'll run my report, and it pulls up visually and graphically information on how many days it took our contracts to be executed. In our organization, we're doing pretty well. We are completing all of our contracts in 0 to 3 days, which is great. Now, keep in mind, this is a training site, so it might not be super realistic here. But over here, I can also see the breakdown of the statuses our contracts are in. So 45% of the time, our contracts are in draft, 43% in pending approval. And this is a way for you to identify any bottlenecks or processes that you might be able to improve in your organization. If this breakdown of days is not helpful for you, again, if we had different data in here, we might see a huge portion of contracts that are taking over 41 days, and I want to break that down more granularly. Administrators can adjust these day ranges to better see the data and make it fit your needs a little bit better. Down below, we can see granularly the details of the contracts that are included in this report, links to go to them, contract manager, and then the actual number of hours that it's spent in each status. Down below, we've also got this summary. This report you can export into Excel if need be, and you can also save the filters. Finally, let's take a look at the workload by contract manager report. So here you can see the statuses of the contracts that each of your contract managers have. If you just run the report without any search filters, it will pull up all of your users who are contract managers. Today, we're just going to look at my user, Grace Appleton, and see that she has 7 contracts that are in draft, 0 contracts in any of these statuses, 6 that are executed in effect, 1 expired, 1 superseded, and 2 are complete. So this is a way for me, if I'm an administrator or a manager in my company, I can take a look and say, Grace has 7 contracts that are in draft. That's an awful lot. Maybe there are some processes that we need to improve, or maybe I need to take a couple of these off her plate. This is also a report that you can export as well. So that's all we're going to talk about for reports today. Again, if you get the chance in your own site, I do encourage you to take a look at these other reports as well, or explore some of the data that you have within your own environment. So that was the standard reporting that comes with Contracts Plus, and we now have advanced reporting that allows you to go a step further beyond the standard reporting that I demonstrated so far. This is currently available for e-procurement, invoicing, and Contracts Plus. What you see here is a screenshot of the contract summary dashboard where high-level information about number of contracts, contract expiration, and contract value can be seen, but then you can dig deeper to query the data and build your own custom reports and dashboards. It uses a third-party visualization and reporting tool called Looker that's embedded in the Jagger One platform. This reporting is housed in one place: reporting, operational and site usage reports, business analytics dashboards. Of course, the way you use business analytics reporting will be driven by the answers you are seeking about your contracts. But in general, the overall process begins with a dashboard, including Jagger created out-of-the-box dashboard, which you can use as a launching pad to create your own custom reports. Or you can start from scratch, especially if you want to create a cycle time report. Once you create a report that provides the answers you need, you can preserve it in several ways. But enough talking about it, let's take a look at this reporting in action. We're going to go into Contracts Plus, and I'm going to show you where you can find the business analytics dashboards. We'll explore the existing data and create a new report. I'm logged in, and my user does have all the necessary permissions to perform the tasks in this training today. We'll talk more about permissions after this demonstration. To find business analytics reporting, we'll go to Reporting, Operational and Site Usage Reports, Business Analytics Dashboards. That takes me to a summary dashboard, and this is data that mostly pertains to e-procurement and invoicing. But we also have, under this Global tab, a contract summary dashboard. This is where we can see an overall summary of our contracts and some data at a glance. If you have the permission to configure and you want to know more about one of your reports, you could hover over one of the looks on this dashboard and explore from here. So for example, this number of contracts report. If I click the 3 dots icon, I could explore from here, or hover over and click on the report to explore from here. And from there, I'd be able to add dimensions or measures to create or customize a new report. Or if I want to create additional reports from scratch, I have a couple of options from the Explore dropdown. The Contract Explorer would allow me to create reports around contract header details and information, maybe line item details, expiration dates, things like that. Or Contract Cycle Time Explorer will help me generate reports pertaining to cycle time. So let's say that we have a report in mind. Maybe our example is that we are working hard to eliminate bottlenecks in our organization. So we want to know how many executed in effect contracts went through each workflow step and the duration that they were in each of those workflow steps. So to do that, I chose the Contract Cycle Time Explorer. And now what I need to do is I need to put in my dimensions and measures. I could expand these windows here, dimensions and measures, and we also could search up here by keyword, and we'll do that in a little bit. For now, let's just start with the contract status. I'm going to click that to add that as a dimension. And then the measure that we'll add, if I go over here, I can see contract count. So this is just going to tell me how many of our contracts are in each status right now. To run the report, we do have to click this purple Run button. We can see the data here, so this is sort of our answer. And then to see the picture that is painted, we can expand this visualization window. So this is an overall picture of our contracts and their current status. So we can see that we have 51 contracts that are executed in effect, 40 that are complete, etc. And for today's report, I'm really going to focus on this executed in effect status. So what I can do is I can filter by executed in effect contracts. I could do that either from the left pane here, I could click filter, Or since the result of our executed in effect is already in our data table, we can use that to quickly filter. All I have to do is click on executed in effect in my data table, and I can choose to filter on executed in effect. Let's run the query again. Every time this button turns purple, that means we can run it again for new data. And now let me just minimize that for a little bit. Now we only have one row of data because we just filtered our contracts by the ones that are in executed in effect status. Now what we want to know is how many of our executed contracts went through each workflow step and how long they took in each workflow step. So let's add some additional dimensions and measures. I'll just search, if I have all fields, let's say I search for step name. And what I'm looking for is workflow step name. Add that to our data table here. And then for measures, let's look at time elapsed. We're going to look for workflow average time elapsed in days. I could probably, before I run this report, I could probably remove my status dimension from my data because we know that they're all going to be in executed in effect. And now let's run the report. Okay, so I've got my data here. I've got the answers that I need with this data. And then let's paint the picture. Let's expand this visualization. So we see here the number of contracts in blue and the workflow average time elapsed in green. We can customize this visualization to better suit our needs. What we can do is click the gear icon here and it gives me some options. So one thing we can do is maybe split the y-axis because number of contracts and days, those are two different measures. And maybe those ranges don't really correspond so well for our needs. So what I can do is I can move contract count to the right axis instead, and that might make it a little bit easier to read. And I could even click this series tab here and choose to make contract count. Maybe I want that just to be a scatter plot because the main information that I'm after today is how many days is it taking for these contracts to be in each workflow step, and maybe the count is sort of secondary. I want it on there, but I don't want it to distract from the main point of why I'm running this report. I also can even change the colors. So if I need to make this on brand, I have some options there. And there's lots of other ways here that we could change this visualization. If this doesn't work for us, we could change this to a different type of visualization. It doesn't have to be a column chart. So this is very customizable for your needs. Lots of different information that we can glean from here. And in my example, we can see that most of our executed contracts are spending their time in this upload signed document step of workflow. The average elapsed time is 60 days waiting for our contracts to be signed. Keep in mind, this is a training site, but with that information, I can see that maybe we need to be looking into adopting some e-signature practices because hardly any of our contracts even went to the e-signature setup. Only 3 of our contracts did that, meaning that we're not maybe using e-signature, and that's then impacting our upload signed document step and why it's taking our contracts so long. And this information can really help me find ways to be more efficient in our organization. Now, once the look is created, there are several actions that can be selected from the gear icon in the upper right corner. Now, there's no limit to the number of looks you can have, so it's best practice to save your looks. If you took the time to configure this report, why not save it? So what we have options to do here is save as a look. We could save to a dashboard to make this look visible side by side with other related looks on a dashboard. We could download this look in a variety of file types, schedule the look to be automatically emailed at a specified date and time frequency, or we could send the look as an ad hoc email. Please be sure to watch the video called Do More with Your Business Analytics Reporting for more information on using these actions. For now, I'll just save mine as a look. We'll call it Executed Contracts Workflow Cycle Time. And then we'll choose if we want to save it to a personal or a group space. I'll just save mine to a personal space and then click Save. And now that look has been created and I'd be able to access from my personal space later on. Business Analytics Reporting is available now to all e-procurement, invoicing, and Contracts Plus customers, but the roles and permissions need to be enabled to see it. The caveat to using Business Analytics Reporting is that permitted users will have access to all of the organization's requisition, PO, invoice, and contracts plus data, not just the documents or contracts that they usually see, maybe for their business division or campus, etc. The enhancement to put gates around what data a user sees in business analytics reporting is a feature request that has been heard and is being considered for the future. We know it's important to organizations. But for now, make sure those users who have permission for business analytics reporting are permitted to see data for the whole organization. The permissions required are found under Administration and Reporting and Analysis, and they are View Business Analytics for users that should be able to view business analytics reporting, Configure Analytics Dashboards for users that should be able to create looks and dashboards for the organization, and Send Reports to any email address, and that would be for users who can be trusted to email reports to a valid email address via the Send and Schedule functions. The demonstration that we did today was just a taste of this reporting. There are several videos available in Jagger University where you can learn more on the specifics of how to use this tool. Those titles are listed here and you can find them at university.jagger.com.